Cultural Committee meeting at 6 o'clock. I'll start by reading the advice about recording and webcasting. This committee meeting is being webcast and recorded. By speaking at the committee meeting, you agree to being recorded and webcast. Please ensure that if and when you are speaking at this committee meeting that you are respectful to other people and use appropriate language. AlburyCity accepts no liability for any defamatory or offensive remarks or gestures made during the course of this committee meeting, and audio recording will be made for administrative purposes. Conflict of interest declarations, I've received none. None received. Apologies. We have none. Confirmation of the minutes of the previous meeting. Councillor Mack.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'm happy to move that the minutes of the Community and Cultural Committee meeting held on Monday, the 19th of March 2018 at 6 p.m. be confirmed. Thanks.
Thank you. Councillor Vanderven.
Happy to second that, Madam Chair.
Thank you. Councillor Mack, would you like to speak to those minutes at all?
No, all good. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you, councillors. I'll put the motion. All those in favour? Anyone against? That's carried. Matters arising from the minutes, I don't believe we have any. Minutes and reports of committees and working parties, there are none. Brings us to officers' reports for consideration. Councillor Mack.
Madam Chair, I'd like to move the committee recommends to Council that Council A adopt the draft youth strategy as presented, and B place the draft youth strategy on public exhibition for a period of 28 days. Thanks.
Thank you. Councillor Thurley.
Second the motion.
Thank you. Councillor Mack, would you like to speak to that motion?
Just briefly, I think it's encouraging that we are getting our policies together to certainly represent all levels of our community. Young people are our future, and I think with the facilities we currently have in place with the retro and other facilities and policies and programs we run, I think it's imperative that we have defined guidelines as to what we are doing for the future for our young people and developing the relevant groups and infrastructure to serve that need. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Councillor Mack. We've got no speakers against, so I'll have Councillor Thurley speaking for as well.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Yes, I'd just like to say a few things. I think the report is an excellent report, and I fully endorse what Councillor Mack has said. I believe we still have work to do in a certain part of our youth demographic in this city, and I know that that is well understood by the relevant council staff. The survey showed, for example, that quite a lot of people didn't attend our library, museum, our Lavington Library. They don't attend the Retro Cafe. So there is a group that we are not catching well, and I think we need to concentrate on that one as well. I was fortunate enough to go to a meeting, Councillor Mack was there as well, and a number of Albury staff relating to this thing called the Geelong Project. And it's about preventing early school leaving, which inevitably leads to homelessness and other things. And they had shown tremendous results in Geelong as a result of this intervention. I believe it's something we need to keep our eye on. I know we have. We have a youth unemployment rate which is greater than the national average, and we also have a homelessness issue. So I think this report is good. There's clearly lots more work to do.
Thanks, Councillor Thurley. I have no more speakers. Councillor Mack, would you like to close debate?
No, all clear.
Thank you, councillors. I'll put the motion. Those in favour? Anyone against? That's carried. Item 7.2, Community and Cultural Grants. I need a mover, please. Thank you. Councillor Vanderven.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Happy to move the recommendation as the motion when I find the right page. That the committee recommends the council approves the allocation of community and cultural grant funds to the following applicants. Now, do I need to actually read all of them out?
Are you recommending option 1 as per the staff report?
Yeah, option 1,
I think if you make that should be enough. Thank you.
Yeah. Which is the extra expenditure on top of what's in the funding pool.
Thank you, Councillor Vanderven. Councillor Thurley.
I'll second the motion, Madam Chair.
Thank you, councillors. I'd actually like to move an amendment to this motion, please, which is to...
well, you might like to ask whether you might not need an amendment.
Thank you. So to make the current motion part 1 and to add a part 2, which is from 2018-19 to increase the community and cultural grants funding to 50,000 and to increase with CPI thereafter.
if that's the appropriate place, Madam Chair, to have this motion, other than through the budget process, I'm happy to it become a second part of the motion.
I'm comfortable.
Thank you. If the mover accepts the amendment, then it becomes part of the motion. Thank you, Councillor Vanderman. I do have a question from Councillor Glacken.
Thank you. Through you, Madam Chair, to the most relevant member of staff. My understanding is that with budget changes to budget, we would normally do that through the current budgeting process. And my understanding is that it's still possible for us to be able to include that rather than deal with that tonight as a motion, to have that put in as part of the current budgeting process for next year, so that we can look at that holistically rather than just as an individual increase or a solitary increase.
Thanks, Councillor Glacken. I'm happy to put this through to Ms Squire. I did run this proposal past the General Manager previously, and Mr Zagnich advised me to move it in with the recommendations of the Community and Cultural Grants rather than in the budget process.
Through you, Madam Chair. Certainly there's every opportunity if Council supports the motion that's been put to it. What we would do, given the budget papers have already been prepared, and will be presented to Council for consideration next Monday night, we would simply make an adjustment to those papers prior to putting them on public exhibition, and that will give the community still then time, obviously, to provide feedback should they wish to do so as part of the broader budget consideration process.
Thanks, Ms Squire. Did you have a question as well? Thank you. We'll go back to Councillor Vandervan to open debate.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Look, this is one of the good parts of being a councillor, is that you get to have a look at the sorts of good projects that are being promulgated throughout our community by really good community people, and to be able to support the majority of them. And I understand as well that it's very difficult in a decision-making process of what you need to keep in and what goes out, and you can't fund everything. And even if with an increase to 50,000, which is a good thing to do, which has happened through the Sports Albury grants as well, it's still not possible to fund everything that comes through. But obviously, having an extra 10,000 next year will help a few more projects get off the ground. And these are all projects around our community wellbeing, learning, training, and I just think that this is a really good recommendation to support. Thanks, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Councillor Vandervan. I actually have no more speakers for or against. So if I just might add my own comments as the chair of the Community and Cultural Grants Assessment Panel. Look, it is absolutely heartbreaking to choose which projects to fund every year because there are so many good ones. And I think it's fantastic we have so many community groups that are meeting Albury 2030 outcomes with just a little bit of our support. So I'm really proud to support the motion tonight, and hopefully we can increase that in future. Thank you, councillors. Councillor Vanderman, would you like to close debate?
No, thank you, Madam Chair.
I'll put the motion. Councillors, all those in favour? Anyone against? That's carried. Officers' reports for noting, I have none. Delegates' reports for noting, I have none. Councillors, is there any notice for urgent business? And there's no confidential matters tonight, so I'll close the meeting at 6:09 p.m.
This is what I was talking about. This easy to do business. I want to make it easy to do business. Anyway.
I think you'll open the Finance Administration Committee. This committee meeting is being webcast and recorded. I'll open the Finance Administration Committee meeting. This committee meeting is being webcast and recorded. By speaking at the committee meeting, you agree to being recorded and webcast. please ensure that if and when you are speaking at this committee meeting, that you are respectful to other people and use appropriate language. Albury City accepts no liability for any defamatory or offensive remarks or gestures made during the course of this committee meeting. An audio recording will be made for administrative purposes. Conflict of interest declarations? None. We have no apologies, so I'll move on to FAC 4, confirmation of minutes of the previous meeting. Councillor Vanderman, sorry.
Thank you, Mr Chair. I'll move the recommendation the minutes of the Finance Administration Committee meeting held on Monday, 19 March 2018 at 6:13 p.m. be confirmed.
Councillor Glacken.
Thank you, Mr Chair.
I don't have any questions or comments, so I'll put that motion. All in favour? Against? The motion is carried. There are no indications of matters arising for the minutes, so I'll move on to FAC 6. There are no reports or minutes of committees and working parties. FAC 7, 7.1, New South Wales Government's Easy to Do Business Program. Councillor Glacken.
Thank you, Mr Chair. Through you to move the recommendation as a motion that the committee recommends to Council that Council A delegates authority to the General Manager to enter into an agreement with Service New South Wales for the Easy to Do Business Program, and B, pursuant to Regulation 400 of the Local Government General Regulation 2005 and the use of the Council seal policy, authorise the Mayor and the General Manager to sign and affix the Council seal to any necessary documents.
Thank you, Councillor. Councillor Doxey.
Happy to second, Mr Chair.
I have a question from Councillor Mack.
Thank you, Mr Chair. Through you to the appropriate staff member, I'm just wondering, in the report it says that there was potentially, when the program was first promoted and offered to council, there was an annual fee to participate, and it's not mentioned again in the report, and it's not mentioned in the MOU.
Yeah.
Is there a fee attached to it?
Mr Keys.
Through you, Mr Chair, one of the advantages that we tried to highlight is that fee no longer applies. That's why we're quite happy to endorse it and support
it. So I have no other I have a question. Sorry.
It might be in the form, Mr Chair, of a Dorothy Dixer, but this is also applied to our relationship with the New South Wales Government.
Is there a question?
Well, there is a question there, Mr Chair.
Mr Keys?
Could I ask Councillor Vanderven to clarify his question, please?
Does this easy to do business approach apply to our dealings with the New South Wales Government as well? I did say it was a Dorothy Dixer.
I'll take it as a remark. I really would prefer that councillors actually ask questions as is required by the council policy at meetings rather than make statements. And I did raise it at the last Finance Administration Committee. Making a statement and then saying, is that true at the end, is not a question in my opinion. However, Councillor Glacken, would you like to speak to the motion?
Very briefly, Mr Chair, thank you. It's a fantastic opportunity for businesses within our area and in fact across New South Wales who wish to open a new business, cafe related indeed, noted at this stage. But it's a fantastic opportunity for them to be able to do so in a much more seamless way and timely way than has hitherto been the opportunity. So it looks like it's a great opportunity to start and it'll be interesting to see how this then rolls out into further programs. Thank you, Mr Chair.
Thank you, Councillor Glacken. I have no questions or other speakers, so I'll put the motion. All in favour? Contrary, motion is carried. FAC 7.2, Draft Albury City Information Management Strategy 2018 to 2022. Councillor Comm.
Thank you, Mr Chair. I move that the committee recommends to Council that Council endorse the Information Management Strategy 2018 to 22.
Councillor Doxey.
Happy to second, Mr Chair.
Thank you. I have no questions, so I'll take Councillor Conn, if you'd like to speak to the motion.
Thank you, Mr Chair. Just briefly to comment that it's fantastic to see that we've got a policy that reflects the expectation from our community and from our staff that we're forward-thinking and keeping up with trends and making information accessible via digital means. So I commend the staff on the policy and I'm happy to support it.
I have no other questions or speakers, so I'll put the motion. All in favour? Against? The motion is carried. FAC 8, Officer Reports for Noting, 8.1 Investment Balances, March 2018. Councillor Vandervan.
Thank you, Mr Chair. Happy to move the recommendation. The committee recommends the council receive and note the investment balances report for the month of March 2018.
Thank you. Councillor Mack.
Thank you, Mr Chair. Happy to second that recommendation.
Councillor Vandervan, would you like to open debate on the matter?
There's really not a lot to say. I need to make a comment briefly on the chart on page 23 where we seem to have dropped down to about 15 and something % for our investments by type, but there's a good explanation for that in the body of the report. Let's hope we can bring that back up again at some stage when opportunities arise.
I have no other speakers or questions, so I'll put the motion. All in favour? Against? The motion is carried. I have no delegates' reports. I have no indication of urgent business and no confidential matters, so I'll declare the meeting closed at 6:16.